Captain Hyun never liked dead space systems, but his job was to explore them anyway. The Galactic Exploration Corps paid him well to visit places where no one else wanted to go. Today he was floating through the Kepler 442 system, where the star had died long ago, leaving behind cold planets and chunks of rock. His ship, the Star Seeker, moved slowly through the darkness, with only the glow of distant stars to light their way. Hyun sat in his command chair drinking bitter coffee and watching. The scanner displays his crew of 12 had been with him for 3 years now, and they worked well together. Lieutenant Mira handled navigation while Engineer Tak kept their old ship running. Chief Science Officer Yuna studied whatever they found, out here in the black. Most of the time, they found nothing but space junk and dead asteroids. The first sign something was wrong came when their sensors started acting strange. Instead of showing empty space, the displays filled with massive metallic contacts scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Hundreds of them. Each one was huge, bigger than the largest ships in the Galactic fleet. Hyun leaned forward in his chair and frowned at the readings. Something that big should have been detected years ago. When the first survey teams mapped this system, Yuna ran her scans 3 times to make sure the equipment was working properly. Each time the results came back, the same, massive metal objects arranged in perfect military formations floating silently in the dark. Hyun ordered his ship to move closer. As they approached the first cluster of contacts, the crew fell silent. These were not asteroids or space debris. These were ships, warships to be exact. Old warships that looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. The hulls were dark and cold, but somehow still intact after who knows how many years in space. The largest ship in the formation was easily 3 kilometers long. Its hull was covered in symbols and markings that made no sense. Some looked familiar like old Earth languages, but others were completely unknown. The name painted on the side in faded letters read, Soul's Vengeance, in both Korean and something that might have been English. Mira checked the star charts and navigation records. No one had ever reported finding ships in this system before. These vessels were not in any database anywhere in the galaxy. They were ghosts floating in the dark with no explanation for how they got there or why they were still intact. Tak ran deep scans on the mystery ships and his face went pale. The energy readings made no sense. These ships were old, incredibly old. Some of the metal alloys had not been used by any known civilization for over 2,000 years. Yet somehow their power cores still showed faint signs of life. Their systems were dormant, but not dead. Yuna suggested they try to board one of the smaller vessels to gather more information. Hyun agreed and selected a crew of 6, including himself, to make the dangerous journey. They put on their spacesuits and loaded into the shuttlecraft that would carry them across the void to the mystery ship. The moment their shuttle got close to the ghost ship, everything went wrong. Their communications, filled with static and strange whispered voices, speaking in languages none of them recognized. The shuttle's navigation system started giving impossible readings, saying they were moving in directions that did not exist. Hyun felt a chill run down his spine as shadows seemed to move inside the dead ship's windows. Lieutenant Mira tried to establish a docking connection, but the ghost ship's systems would not respond. Their magnetic clamps would not hold, and their cutting tools would not work. On the strange hull material, it was as if the ship itself was rejecting their attempts to board. Every time they got close, strange energy fields would push their shuttle away. The whispered voices in their communications got louder and more insistent. Now they could make out words in old Korean dialects, warning them to leave, telling them these ships were not meant for outsiders. The crew started feeling sick and dizzy as unknown energies washed over their shuttle. Hyun made the difficult decision to retreat back to their own ship. They had gathered enough sensor data to prove these ghost ships existed, but actually exploring them would have to wait for better-equipped teams with more advanced technology. His crew was relieved to put distance between themselves and the mysterious fleet back on the starseeker Una compiled their findings. The ghost ships numbered in the hundreds, possibly thousands. Each one was perfectly preserved despite being incredibly ancient. They showed signs of advanced technology far beyond anything the current galactic civilizations could build. Their power cores used energy sources that modern science could not identify. The discovery sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council when Hyun filed his report. Earth was contacted immediately, but their government claimed no knowledge of any ancient fleet. Human space travel was barely 300 years old according to all historical records. These ships predated human civilization by millennia, yet they were clearly of human origin. Within weeks, every major power in the galaxy had dispatched secret missions to study the Ghost Fleet. The Thrakari Empire sent their best military analysts. The Nexus Federation deployed teams of xenoarchaeologists. The Crystalline Collective wanted to understand the technology behind the mysterious energy cores. None of the investigation teams found satisfactory answers. The ships remained dead, yet somehow alive. Empty, yet filled with a presence that made veteran Space Marines nervous. Strange energy readings came from their cores at random intervals. Running lights would flicker on for no reason before going dark again. Some teams reported crew members experiencing vivid dreams about ancient battles fought. Among the stars, others spoke of hearing music that seemed to come from inside their own heads. Traditional songs from Earth played on instruments that had not existed when the songs were written. These experiences left hardened soldiers shaking with fear. The Ghost Fleet became the greatest mystery in galactic history. Here was proof that humanity once commanded technology far advanced than anything currently known. Yet no human alive had any memory or record of these ships existing. Implications terrified the galaxy's most powerful empires who had grown comfortable thinking of humans as primitive and weak. Captain Hyun returned to the Ghost Fleet site many times over the following months. Each visit revealed new mysteries. The ships sometimes changed position during the night, moving to different formations without any visible means of propulsion. Security cameras would malfunction whenever pointed directly at the vessels, as if they did not want to be observed too closely. The discovery of Earth's Ghost Fleet marked the beginning of a new age in galactic politics. No longer could the great empires dismiss humanity as a minor species. Their ancestors had built something that surpassed the greatest achievements of civilizations, that had ruled the stars for millennia. The sleeping fleet waited patiently in the dark, but for what no one could say. Admiral June of the Nexus Federation considered himself a reasonable man. He had spent 40 years building his reputation as a fair but firm military leader. The discovery of the Ghost Fleet presented him with an opportunity that was too good. To pass up, these ancient ships represented technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. If the Federation could claim them, the balance of power would shift dramatically. June assembled a massive task force to secure the Ghost Fleet. 300 warships from the Federation's finest battle groups surrounded the mysterious vessels in a show of overwhelming force. He had contacted Earth's government through proper diplomatic channels, but their response was disappointing. They claimed no knowledge of the ancient fleet and had no legal claim to vessels that predated their space program by thousands of years. The Federation's legal experts agreed that these ships fell under standard salvage laws. Any civilization could claim abandoned vessels found in neutral space. Earth's primitive technology made it impossible for them to properly study or utilize such advanced ships. The Federation had both the right and the capability to put these vessels to better use. June's flagship, the Triumph of Stars, positioned itself near the largest ghost ship he had chosen, Soul's Vengeance as his first target. The massive vessel showed no signs of life or activity. Perfect for a boarding operation, his teams had spent weeks preparing specialized equipment to cut through the unknown hull materials and override any security systems that might still be active. The moment June's tractor beams locked onto the ghost ship, everything changed. Lights that had been dark for centuries suddenly blazed. to life across the ancient hull. Warning beacons began flashing in patterns that hurt the eyes to watch. A sound that should not have existed in the vacuum of space somehow reached every crew member's ears. A deep, thrumming noise that made their bones ache. Soul's Vengeance was waking up from a sleep that had lasted millennia. Its engines roared to life with power signatures that made the Federation's best ships look like toys. Weapon systems began cycling through startup sequences that lit up every sensor array within 100 kilometers. The dead ship had become very much alive in a matter of seconds. The ghost ship's communication array crackled with energy as it transmitted on all Federation frequencies. The voice that emerged was calm and professional, speaking perfect Galactic standard with just a hint of an accent that sounded almost human. Unknown. Vessels, you are interfering with Earth Defense Force property. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. Admiral June laughed. At the transmission, Earth's military was a joke compared to the Federation's might. Their entire space fleet could not match a single Federation battle group. This ancient automation system was impressive, but surely it was just an elaborate security program left behind by whoever built these ships. The real threat had died out long ago. June ordered his fleet to continue the salvage operation. He had 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships against one ancient vessel that had been dormant for thousands of years. The outcome was obvious. His tactical officers began plotting intercept courses, while the engineering teams prepared their cutting equipment. Soul's Vengeance responded by targeting every single Federation ship simultaneously. Its weapon systems moved with impossible precision tracking targets that were spread across thousands of kilometers. The ancient vessel's tactical display somehow knew the exact position, speed, and heading of every enemy ship, despite having been offline moments before. The battle began when June fired the first shot. His flagship's main cannon sent a beam of concentrated energy directly at the ghost ship's bridge. The blast that could have destroyed a small moon struck Soul's Vengeance, dead center. The ancient ship's shields absorbed the attack without even flickering. The energy seemed to disappear into the hull as if it had never existed. Soul's Vengeance fired back with weapons that defied everything the Federation knew about. Physics beams of unknown energy passed through the Triumph of Stars shields as if they were not there. The ship's armor, which had withstood attacks from the galaxy's most powerful weapons, began to melt like ice in sunlight. Federation ships opened fire from every direction, concentrating their attacks on the single ghost ship. The space around Soul's Vengeance filled with weapons fire that should have reduced any vessel to atoms. Instead, the ancient ship moved through the barrage like it was flying through empty space. Its hull showed no damage, no scorch marks, nothing to indicate it had been hit at all. One by one, the Federation warships found themselves disabled. Soul's Vengeance used different weapons on each target. Some ships had their engines overloaded, causing them to drift helplessly. Others found their computer systems infected with viruses that displayed ancient Korean poetry on every screen. A few vessels were caught in energy fields that held them motionless, like insects trapped in amber. The engagement lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, Admiral June sat in the ruins of his command center, watching his fleet drift powerless around the ancient ship that had defeated them. Soul's Vengeance had not destroyed a single Federation vessel. Instead, it had systematically demonstrated that resistance was pointless. A new voice came over the communication channels. This one belonged to a woman who spoke with the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in battles across the galaxy. Captain Nari of Soul's Vengeance addressed the defeated Federation forces with words that would be remembered for generations. "You came here believing you could take what was not yours," she said. Her voice carried sadness as well as strength. "You thought Earth was weak because we choose not to show our true power. These ships are guardians waiting for the day when our people need protection. Today you learned that day has not yet come. The ghost Ship's weapons powered down, but its engines remained active. Sol's vengeance slowly returned to its original position among the fleet. A parting message from Captain Nari made it clear that this had been a demonstration of mercy. The ancient ship possessed weapons that could crack planets and shields that could absorb the power of Star's word of the defeat, spread across the galaxy within hours. The mighty Nexus Federation had been humbled by a single ancient ship crewed by ghosts. Every military planner in known space began reviewing their strategies. The balance of power had shifted overnight, and humanity had become the galaxy's most feared civilization without firing a shot from their own modern fleet. Admiral June spent his remaining years trying to understand what had happened in those 17 minutes. His reports to Federation High Command were met with disbelief until the sensor recordings confirmed every impossible detail. The Ghost Fleet had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Ambassador Kang walked into the great chamber of the Galactic Council with her head held high, despite the weight of 1,000 hostile stares. The emergency session had been called after the Nexus Federation incident, and every representative wanted answers from Earth about the mysterious Ghost Fleet. None of them were happy with what they had learned so far. The chamber was massive enough to hold delegates from over 500 worlds. Each species had their own section with environmental controls suited to their biology. The air shimmered with different atmospheres separated by energy fields. Translator devices worked overtime, converting thousands of languages into something resembling universal communication. Chancellor Vex of the Draconian Empire stood at the central podium, his reptilian features twisted with barely controlled rage. His people had ruled a quarter of the galaxy for 3,000 years and did not appreciate being made to feel small. The holographic displays around him showed detailed scans of the Ghost Fleet with energy readings that made even his military advisors nervous. "How long has your species hidden this fleet from the galactic community?" Vex demanded. His voice echoed through the chamber with artificial amplification. "Earth has deceived us all pretending to be a young civilization, while commanding the most powerful navy in known space." Ambassador Kang stepped forward to the human section of the chamber. Her translator device kicked in, allowing her words to be understood by every delegate present. "Honored Chancellor, Earth has hidden nothing from anyone. We discovered the Ghost Fleet at the same time as everyone else. Our government has no records of these ships existing." The accusations came fast and loud from every corner of the chamber. Representatives demanded to know how Earth had developed technology that surpassed their greatest achievements. Why were there no records of such a massive construction project? What other secrets was humanity hiding from their galactic neighbors? Kang answered each question with the same frustrating honesty. Earth's space program was barely 300 years old. Their fastest ships could not even reach the nearest star system without taking decades. These ghost ships used technology that was completely unknown to human science. The mystery was as puzzling to Earth as it was to everyone else. Dr. Roth of the Crystalline Collective presented the scientific findings to the assembled delegates. His people were master engineers who could build structures that lasted millions of years. Even they were baffled by what they had discovered in the Ghost Fleet. The ships showed signs of construction techniques that would not be developed. For another 1,000 years, carbon dating was impossible due to temporal distortions around the vessels. Energy signature analysis suggested the ships existed in multiple time streams simultaneously. Their computer systems used quantum processing, methods that made current galactic technology look primitive. Yet genetic locks and language protocols proved beyond doubt that humans had built them. The psychological reports were even more disturbing. Teams that had attempted to board the Ghost ships reported experiences that challenged their understanding of reality. Veteran space marines spoke of whispers in dead languages, shadows that moved without light sources, and overwhelming feelings of being watched by invisible eyes. Medical scans of these crew members showed brain activity consistent with supernatural encounters, though such phenomena were supposed to be impossible according to galactic science. Some reported receiving memories that were not their own, while others claimed to have brief conversations with people who had died centuries ago. The investigation had uncovered something that terrified every council member. The ghost ships contained detailed tactical analyses of every major galactic empire's military capabilities. Strategic assessments included battle plans for wars that had not been fought and defenses against weapons that had not been invented. It was as if whoever built the Ghost Fleet had perfect knowledge of future events spanning thousands of years. The strategic database included personal profiles of military leaders who were children, detailed maps of colonies that did not yet exist, and economic projections that assumed political changes decades in advance. Representative Zara of the hegemony stood up during the presentation, her four arms gesturing wildly. "These ships are not from the past," she declared. "They are from the future sent back to protect humanity during their vulnerable period. This explains why they know so much about our capabilities." The chamber erupted in chaos as delegates struggled to process the implications. Time travel was considered impossible by every known civilization. The energy requirements alone would require harnessing the power of entire star systems. Even if such technology existed, the paradoxes created would tear apart the fabric of reality itself. Ambassador Kang raised her voice above the noise, requesting permission to address the Council's concerns. Earth's scientists had reached similar conclusions, but had no explanation for how such technology was possible. The Ghost Fleet existed, that much was certain, but their origin remained as much a mystery to humanity as to everyone else. Council security teams reported strange phenomena. Occurring throughout the station, electronic systems would malfunction when discussion turned to the Ghost Fleet. Lights would flicker in patterns that resembled ancient Morse code. Communications arrays would pick up signals from empty space that seemed to contain fragments of human music. The investigation teams had discovered something else that chilled the blood of every delegate. Deep within the ghost ships, databanks were records of galactic history that had not yet happened. Wars between empires that were currently at peace. The rise and fall of civilizations that were now at their peak, detailed accounts of humanity's destruction at the hands of a coalition that had not yet formed. These records painted a picture of the future where Earth faced extinction from united galactic empires who had finally recognized humanity as a threat. The Ghost Fleet appeared to be their final desperate gambit, a temporal lifeline cast backward through history to ensure their species' survival. The session ended with more questions than answers. The Galactic Council agreed to continue monitoring the Ghost Fleet while demanding regular reports from Earth about any new developments, but privately, every delegate returned to their home worlds with the same terrifying thought. If the Ghost Fleet truly came from the future, then humanity's descendants had already won a war that had not yet been fought. Ambassador Kang filed her report with Earth's government, knowing it would provide little comfort. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations were afraid, and fear made people do dangerous things. The Ghost Fleet might be protecting humanity, but it was also making them the target of suspicion and resentment from every corner of known space. Commander Lee had been monitoring deep space communications for Earth Defense Network for over 10 years. She was used to the routine of scanning empty frequencies and filing reports about cosmic background radiation. Today started like any other day until every sensor array on the planet began screaming warnings at her simultaneously. The signal was coming from the Ghost Fleet, but not from any single ship. The entire armada was acting as one massive communication array broadcasting toward Earth with enough power to light up sensor stations from here to the galactic core. The transmission used quantum encryption methods that would not be invented for decades yet. Earth's computers recognized and decoded it automatically. Lee's hands shook as she watched the decryption process complete itself. The message was addressed to the people of Earth, but its contents were clearly meant for the galactic community that had been studying the mysterious fleet. Her supervisor, Major Park, rushed to her station when the priority alerts began sounding throughout the command center. The transmission began with the voice of Admiral Kim, a name that appeared in Earth's historical records as a military leader who had died 3 centuries ago. The voice was calm and authoritative, speaking as someone who had commanded fleets in battles that spanned the galaxy. His words carried the weight of absolute certainty. "People of Earth," he began, "this message comes to you from what was once your future. We are the descendants of your children's children, speaking to you across an ocean of time. Our ships exist in your present because your future demanded their creation. We are echoes of humanity's greatest triumph and darkest hour," the message explained the truth behind the Ghost Fleet's existence. These vessels were not relics of the past, but guardians from a timeline where Earth faced complete annihilation. The great galactic empires had eventually united in their fear of humanity's growing influence. Their combined fleets had gathered to wipe out every human world, leaving no survivors. According to Admiral Kim's transmission, Earth's future descendants had discovered this approaching genocide through their advanced temporal monitoring systems. The coalition of empires moved with careful planning, taking decades to build up their forces while maintaining the pretense of peaceful relations. By the time humanity realized the threat, it was too late to build conventional defenses. The Ghost Fleet represented humanity's final desperate gambit. Scientists and military leaders from across human space had volunteered to sacrifice their existence, uploading their consciousness into quantum matrices that could survive the journey backward through time. Their ships were crewed not by living beings, but by digital ghosts of people who chose to die so their ancestors might live. Each vessel contained the uploaded minds of hundreds of volunteers who had given up their physical existence to become eternal guardians. Their consciousness lived on in the ship's computer systems, able to think and fight and make decisions, but forever separated from the physical world they had left behind. The transmission contained detailed warnings about specific threats that would emerge in the coming years. Admiral Kim named empires that would eventually declare war on humanity, identified individuals who were already plotting Earth's destruction, and provided technological specifications for weapons that could defend against attacks that had not yet been planned. The hegemony of Veltar would be the first to move openly against human interests. Their overlord Drac was already building support for a preemptive strike against Earth's colonies. The Crystalline Collective appeared friendly, but their deep space monitoring stations were actually gathering intelligence for a future invasion. The Nexus Federation's defeat at the hands of Sol's vengeance had only delayed their plans, not ended them. Most disturbing were the personal warnings about individuals who seemed like allies. The transmission identified ambassadors who would betray diplomatic agreements, military officers who would sell information to human enemies, and even specific dates when certain attacks would be launched. The message included technical specifications for advanced defensive systems that Earth could begin building immediately, quantum shields that could deflect planet-killing weapons, energy sources that could power entire star systems, new hull materials that could withstand the heat of dying suns. These blueprints would allow humanity to defend itself without relying entirely on the Ghost Fleet's protection. Admiral Kim's voice grew heavy with sadness as he explained the price of their intervention. The act of sending the Ghost Fleet backward through time had created ripples in causality that would affect the present reality. Itself was becoming unstable around Earth as multiple timelines tried to coexist in the same space. Humans living near the Ghost Fleet's patrol routes would begin experiencing temporal echoes, brief glimpses of alternative futures where different choices had been made. Some would receive knowledge they had never learned. Others would remember events that had not yet happened. These effects would grow stronger over time as the paradox deepened. The transmission ended with a promise that chilled the blood of every galactic intelligence agency monitoring the communication. The Ghost Fleet would remain dormant as long as Earth was left in peace. Any attempt to harm humanity would awaken guardians whose fury would make the galaxy's mightiest armies tremble in fear. Commander Lee sat in stunned silence as the message concluded around her. Major Park was already on the phone with their superiors, reporting that Earth had just received detailed intelligence about future threats from their own descendants. The implications sent shock waves through every government and military command structure in known space. If the transmission was accurate, then humanity's future had already won a war that had not yet been fought, using technology that defied current understanding of physics. The Ghost Fleet was not just a collection of ancient ships, but proof that human determination could overcome any obstacle, even the flow of time itself. Within hours, every major power in the galaxy had intercepted and analyzed Earth's transmission. The warning about future coalition attacks made them realize that their own secret plans had somehow been discovered. The Ghost Fleet knew what they were thinking before they thought it had prepared countermeasures for strategies that existed. Only in classified planning documents, the galactic balance of power had shifted once again. Humanity was no longer just protected by mysterious technology from the past. They had become prophets of the future, capable of preventing wars before they started. The Ghost Fleet's greatest weapon was not their advanced technology, but their perfect knowledge of what was coming next. Overlord Drac of the Hegemony studied the tactical displays in his command center with growing frustration. The Ghost Fleet transmission had revealed his secret plans to attack Earth, but he refused to be intimidated by human tricks. His military advisors assured him that the ancient ships were mostly automated systems with limited capabilities. The real test was whether humanity would risk their precious homeworld. In actual combat, Drac had spent 2 years building the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. Over 10,000 warships drawn from the Hegemony's most elite battle groups filled the staging area near Proxima Station. Each vessel had been upgraded with the latest weapons technology and crewed by veterans of 100 conflicts. This armada could conquer entire star systems without breaking formation. The Hegemony's intelligence network had been monitoring Earth since the Ghost Fleet discovery. Human defensive capabilities remained laughably primitive. Their orbital stations were built using technology that was centuries out of date. Their patrol fleets consisted of ships that would not last 5 minutes against modern military hardware. Earth's government had received the warning transmission about Drac's plans, but they seemed unable or unwilling to take effective defensive action. Their official response through diplomatic channels was a polite request that the Hegemony reconsider their aggressive intentions. The message showed typical human weakness in Drac's opinion. The Overlord believed the Ghost Fleet was an elaborate psychological weapon designed to make enemies surrender without fighting. The ancient ships had impressive technology, but they were clearly limited in number and capability. The defeat of Admiral June's fleet had been a carefully staged demonstration, not a real battle. If Earth truly possessed such power, why did their current military remain so pathetically weak? Drac's invasion plan was masterfully conceived. His fleet would approach Earth's solar system in 3 waves. The first would eliminate human orbital defenses, while the second secured the outer planets. The final wave would land troops on Earth itself, ending humanity's brief presence in Galactic. Affairs within 72 hours. The approach to Earth's system was detected by human monitoring stations 3 days before the fleet arrived. Drac made no attempt at stealth, wanting his enemies to see the overwhelming force heading their way. Earth's hasty response was exactly what he expected. 300 human ships formed a defensive line near Mars, looking pitifully small against the approaching tide of Hegemony warships. Galactic observers prepared to witness humanity's destruction. Many felt genuine sympathy for the brave but doomed species. Earth had made remarkable progress in their short time among the stars. But they had chosen the wrong enemy at the wrong time. The Hegemony's military machine was unstoppable when fully committed to war. The moment Drac's fleet crossed the outer boundaries of Earth's solar system, everything changed. Sensors across the galaxy detected massive energy spikes as the Ghost Fleet awakened from its long sleep, thousands of dormant vessels powered, their engines and weapons simultaneously creating energy signatures visible from neighboring star systems. The dead ships that had drifted silently in space suddenly moved with purpose and coordination that made the most advanced military computers seem primitive. They did not simply intercept the invasion force, but surrounded it in a three-dimensional formation that trapped every single hegemony vessel. Captain Nari aboard Sol's Vengeance opened communication channels with the lead invasion ships. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. "Overlord Drac," she said, "your fleet has entered protected space under the guardianship of Earth Defense Force elements. You have 30 seconds to reverse course and withdraw." Drac laughed at the transmission and ordered his fleet to continue forward. One ancient ship threatening 10,000 modern warships was beyond ridiculous. His tactical officers began plotting attack vectors. While engineering teams prepared their most powerful weapons, the hegemony would show the galaxy what happened to civilizations that tried to bluff their way out of inevitable conquest. What followed was not a battle in any conventional sense. The Ghost Fleet did not simply destroy the hegemony forces, but systematically demonstrated the futility of aggression against humanity. Invasion ships found their weapons mysteriously malfunctioning at critical moments. Their targeting systems would lock onto empty space while enemy vessels appeared in their blind spots. Hegemony shields that had withstood attacks from supernovas began failing when exposed to ghost ship weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Navigation computers led entire battle groups into carefully orchestrated ambushes where they found themselves surrounded by enemies that had not been there moments before. The ghost ships showed they could have annihilated the entire invasion fleet in minutes, but instead chose to disable each vessel while broadcasting detailed explanations of exactly how they had been outmaneuvered. Drac watched in horror as his mighty armada was taken apart piece by piece, like a training exercise designed to humiliate incompetent students. Sol's Vengeance demonstrated capabilities that redefined what was possible in space combat. The ancient ship could appear in multiple locations simultaneously, creating holographic duplicates that drew enemy fire while the real vessel struck from impossible angles. Its weapons could phase through matter to strike internal components directly or create gravity wells that crushed enemy ships like tin cans. The systematic destruction of Drac's fleet took exactly 47 minutes. When the engagement ended, every hegemony vessel drifted powerless in space, their crews unharmed but thoroughly defeated. The ghost ships had targeted specific systems with surgical precision, leaving life support and communications intact while eliminating all offensive capabilities. Captain Nari's voice filled every communication channel in the hegemony fleet as she delivered a message that would reshape galactic politics. This demonstration was an act of mercy, she explained. The Ghost Fleet possessed weapons that could crack planets' shields, that could absorb the energy of dying stars, and tactical capabilities that made resistance pointless. "Your crews will be escorted safely out of this system," Nari continued. "But remember, what you have witnessed here today, Earth stands under the protection of guardians whose power transcends your understanding. Any who would threaten humanity face opponents who have already won every war that will ever be fought." Overlord Drac sat in the ruins of his flagship, watching his invasion fleet being herded toward the edge of the solar system by ships that should not have existed. The greatest military force in hegemony history had been defeated without losing a single ghost ship. The ancient guardians had proven their warning was not an empty threat. News of the battle spread across the galaxy, within hours changing everything overnight. The hegemony's military reputation lay in ruins while humanity ascended to a position of power that no one could challenge. Earth was no longer a minor species struggling to find their place among the stars. They had become the galaxy's new superpower, protected by guardians from the future. The Ghost Fleet returned to their patrol, positions around human space, but their message was clear. Any civilization that threatened Earth would face consequences that made conventional warfare seem like a children's game. The balance of galactic power had shifted permanently, and humanity stood at the center of a new age. Ambassador Park could barely believe the changes that had swept across the galaxy in the months following the hegemony defeat. The same alien civilizations that had once dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers now competed desperately for Earth's. Friendship trade delegations arrived weekly, offering deals that heavily favored human interests, while military planners across known space redesigned their strategies around the assumption that Earth was untouchable. The Galactic Council chambers had been rearranged to give humanity a prominent position near the central podium. Representatives who had once spoken to Park with barely concealed contempt now addressed her with the respectful tones reserved for major powers. The human section had been expanded and upgraded with the finest environmental controls and communication equipment. Chancellor Vex of the Draconian Empire personally delivered an invitation for Earth to join their exclusive trade consortium. The same reptilian leader, who had accused humanity of deception, now praised their wisdom and foresight. His offer included access to advanced technologies and preferred trading status throughout Draconian space. The Crystalline Collective proposed joint research ventures that would combine their engineering expertise with humanity's mysterious temporal knowledge. Their scientists were particularly interested in the time distortion effects that had begun manifesting around Earth and human colonies. These phenomena were growing stronger each month as the Ghost Fleet's presence continued to alter local space-time. Even the proud Thrakari Empire had softened their stance toward humanity. Their ambassador hinted at possible marriage alliances between Thrakari, nobility, and Earth's leadership. The warrior culture that had once viewed humans as weaklings now spoke of them as worthy opponents, whose strength had been hidden until the proper moment. Park found herself overwhelmed by the constant stream of diplomatic offers. Each day brought new proposals for mutual defense treaties, technology exchanges, and cultural programs. Every major civilization wanted to ensure they were on humanity's good side before any future conflicts began. The fear was obvious beneath the polite diplomatic language. Earth's colonies experienced unprecedented growth as alien investors poured resources into human space. Mining operations that had struggled for years suddenly found themselves flush with advanced equipment and expert advisors. Shipping routes were rerouted to favor human trade, while planetary development projects received funding from across the galaxy. The changes were not without cost. Strange phenomena continued to manifest around Earth and its territories. Time distortions created pockets where minutes stretched into hours, confusing colonists and disrupting normal activities. Some humans reported receiving knowledge they had never learned from sources they could not identify. Dr. Kim studied these temporal anomalies from her research station on Luna. The quantum echoes created by the Ghost Fleet's journey through time were affecting reality itself. Brief glimpses of alternative timelines appeared as ghostly overlays on normal space, showing possible futures where different choices had been made. Some humans living near the Ghost Fleet's patrol routes developed unusual abilities. They could predict minor events hours before they happened or remember conversations with people they had never met. The effects seemed harmless, but they were spreading slowly through the population as exposure to temporal radiation increased. Admiral Han commanded Earth's expanded defense forces from his new flagship, the Eternal. Vigilance. Human military doctrine had evolved rapidly to incorporate lessons learned from the Ghost Fleet encounters. Their ships now used hybrid technology that combined current engineering with specifications provided in the future transmission. Irony was not lost on Han that humanity had achieved galactic prominence through the intervention of their own descendants, rather than their current achievements. Earth's modern fleet remained small compared to the great empires, but it no longer mattered. The ghost ships provided protection that made conventional military strength irrelevant. Patrol vessels from dozens of different civilizations maintained respectful distances from Earth's borders. Their crews had standing orders to avoid any actions that might be interpreted as threatening. The mere possibility of awakening the Ghost Fleet's wrath was enough to ensure humanity's space remained secure. The greatest mystery remained unsolved. If the Ghost Fleet truly came from a timeline where humanity faced extinction, their successful intervention meant that future would never come to pass. Yet the ancient ships showed no signs of fading or returning to their own time period. They had become permanent fixtures in the galaxy's new reality. Some scientists theorized the ships existed in a stable temporal loop where cause and effect had become circular. Others suggested they had somehow merged with the current timeline, creating a hybrid reality where multiple possibilities coexisted. The truth was beyond current understanding of physics. Captain Hyun returned to the original Ghost Fleet site regularly to monitor changes in the mysterious vessels. His crew had become experts at studying the ancient ships from a safe distance. Each visit revealed new aspects of their impossible technology. The fleet had grown from hundreds of ships to thousands as vessels from different time periods continued to arrive. The ghost ships maintained their silent vigil over human space, but occasional communications suggested they were aware of current events. Captain Nari had been spotted aboard several different vessels, leading some researchers to conclude that the uploaded consciousness could transfer between ships as needed. Earth's government struggled to manage their new position as a galactic superpower. Diplomatic protocols had to be rewritten to account for humanity's enhanced status, while trade agreements were renegotiated to take advantage of their improved bargaining position. The responsibility was enormous for a species that had been exploring space for less than 4 centuries. The galaxy had entered a new age of stability, enforced by the Ghost Fleet's presence. Major wars became impossible when one side possessed guardians from the future who already knew the outcome. Minor conflicts were resolved quickly through diplomatic channels rather than risk escalating into something that might threaten human interests. Children born after the Ghost Fleet's awakening grew up in a universe where humanity was respected and feared across the stars. They learned about the ancient guardians in school, and many dreamed of joining Earth's defense forces to serve alongside the mysterious ships from tomorrow. The future transmission had warned that humanity would face other challenges in the years to come. But it had also proven that human determination could overcome even impossible odds. The Ghost Fleet stood as eternal proof that no matter how dark the future might seem, there was always hope for those brave enough to fight across time itself. Ambassador Park looked out at the assembled representatives of 500 worlds, all waiting to hear Earth's position on the latest trade proposals. The same beings who had once looked down on humanity now hung on her every word. The galaxy's new order was built on respect for power. They could not understand and fear of guardians who had already won tomorrow's wars.